I was standing in my grandmother's kitchen, hands covered in flour from making her favorite biscuits, when two police officers walked through the door with their hands on their weapons. My mother stood behind them, tears streaming down her face, pointing at me like I was a criminal. The morning had started like any other Tuesday. I'd gotten to Grandma's house at 6 a.m. after my night shift at the hospital, still wearing my scrubs under my jacket. My name is Delphine, and for the past 3 years, I've been my grandmother's primary caregiver. I'm 34, a single mother, and a registered nurse who thought I'd seen everything during my 12 years in the emergency room. But nothing prepares you for your own mother trying to destroy your life. My grandmother, Nadine, who we all call Grandma Dee Dee, was sitting at the kitchen table humming an old hymn. At 82, she's been struggling with early-stage dementia for about 18 months. Some days she knows exactly who I am. Other days she thinks I'm her sister from 1962. But every day, without fail, she loves fresh biscuits with her morning coffee. It's one of the few things that never changes. My mother, Cordelia, had been living with Grandma for 3 months since her messy divorce. At 58, she'd lost everything to legal fees and her ex-husband's gambling debts. She stood there in the doorway wearing her best dress, the navy one she usually saved for church, makeup perfectly applied. That should have been my first warning. Mom never dressed up before noon. "Officer, she's been hitting me." My mother's voice cracked with practiced precision. "She steals my medication every day. Look at the bruises on my arms. Arrest her now. She's been abusing both of us." Officer Henriquez, according to his name tag, was a tall man with kind eyes that were rapidly turning suspicious as they looked at me. His partner, Officer Chen, was already pulling out handcuffs. My daughter Zinnia, only 12 years old, stood frozen in the doorway between the kitchen and living room, still holding the book she'd been reading to her great-grandmother. "Mom, what are you doing?" I asked, my voice steadier than my shaking hands. "Don't you dare call me Mom, you monster. Officers, she's been stealing my mother's pain medication. She takes it for herself. She's an addict. Check her pockets right now." I looked down at my flour-covered hands, then at the officers who were moving closer. My grandmother looked up from her coffee, confused. "Who are these men, Delphine?" "Are they here for breakfast? I don't think I made enough biscuits." "Ma'am, we're going to need you to step away from your grandmother," Officer Chen said, his hand moving to his handcuffs. "Of course, officers," I said, slowly raising my flour-covered hands. "But before you put those cuffs on, there's something you need to see on the security cameras I installed last month." My mother's face went from tearful performance to sheet-white shock in less than a second. "What cameras?" "The ones I installed in every common area of this house, Mom. The ones that recorded everything, including what you did at 2:47 this morning, and 3:15, and 4:22. I kept my voice calm, professional, the same tone I used when dealing with volatile patients in the ER. "Officers, I have 37 separate video clips on my phone showing exactly who's been stealing medication in this house, and it's not me." Officer Henriquez held up his hand to his partner. "Show us." My mother started backing toward the door. "Those videos don't show what you think they show. She's tech-savvy. She edited them. Don't believe her. The timestamps are verified, Mom. The metadata is intact, and my medication logs for Grandma match every single discrepancy with your appearances on camera." I pulled out my phone with steady hands, though my heart was racing. 3 months of evidence. 3 months of watching my mother steal from her own mother while planning to frame me for it. 3 months of protecting Grandma while documenting every single violation. "Officers, the first video is from 2 weeks ago, Tuesday, 2:47 a.m. On the small screen, clear as day, my mother crept into Grandma's room. The night vision camera showed her opening the medication drawer, pulling out the bottle of Percocet prescribed for Grandma's hip pain and pocketing half the pills. The timestamp glowed in the corner, 2:47:33 a.m. "That's not me!" Cordelia shrieked. "That's someone else. She hired someone to dress like me." Officer Chen looked at my mother with a different expression now. "Ma'am, is that your red cardigan? The one you're wearing right now?" My mother looked down at her sweater, the same distinctive red cardigan with the pearl buttons she wore in the video. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish, gasping for air. "There are 36 more videos, officers." I said, scrolling through my phone, including one from yesterday morning where she performed an entire fake assault scene by herself, not realizing I was in the bathroom and the timestamp would prove I wasn't even in the room. Grandma Dee looked up from her coffee again, reaching for my hand with her soft, wrinkled fingers. "Delphine, dear, you seem upset. Did you burn the biscuits? It's okay, honey. We can make more." Zinnia finally found her voice from the doorway. "Mom's telling the truth. I've been keeping notes, too. Grandma Cordelia asked me to lie about Mom hurting great-grandma, but I wouldn't do it. I have the text messages she sent me trying to bribe me with a new phone if I backed up her story." Officer Henriquez looked at his partner, then at my mother, then at me. "Ma'am," he said, but this time he was addressing Cordelia, "I think you need to come with us to the station. You have some explaining to do about filing a false police report." My mother's carefully constructed performance crumbled entirely. Her tears were real now, but they weren't tears of victimhood. They were tears of someone caught in their own web of lies. "You don't understand. She turned my mother against me. She's trying to steal my inheritance. I'm the oldest daughter. Everything should be mine." "Mom," I said quietly, "Grandma's not dead. There's no inheritance to steal. There's just an elderly woman with dementia who needs her medication to manage her pain. Medication you've been taking for yourself." The officers moved toward my mother, and suddenly the kitchen that smelled like butter and cinnamon became a crime scene. My grandmother, bless her heart, remained blissfully unaware of the family destruction happening around her, focused instead on stirring her coffee exactly 3 times counterclockwise, the way she'd done every morning for 60 years. "Zinnia," I said to my daughter, "take great-grandma to the living room, please. Put on her favorite show." As my daughter led her great-grandmother away, I heard Grandma Dee say, "Such a good girl, just like her mother, always taking care of everyone." The words hung in the air as the officers prepared to arrest my mother, the woman who'd given birth to me, raised me, and was now trying to send me to prison for crimes she'd committed herself, all for a handful of pills and whatever cash she could steal from her own mother's purse. The security cameras were still recording, capturing this moment too. Another timestamp, another piece of evidence. But this time, they were recording the truth finally coming to light. They were recording justice. They were recording the moment my mother's lies finally caught up with her. And I stood there, hands still covered in flour, watching the woman who taught me right from wrong being read her rights, wondering how we'd gotten here, how a family that used to gather for Sunday dinners had fractured into police visits and theft and false accusations. But I knew one thing for certain as I watched Officer Chen place handcuffs on my mother's wrists. Those security cameras had saved my life. Without them, it would have been her word against mine. A devoted daughter caring for her elderly mother versus another daughter accused of abuse. Who would the police have believed? The biscuits in the oven timer went off, a cheerful ding in the middle of chaos. Normally, Grandma would clap her hands with delight. But she was in the living room now, protected from seeing her daughter in handcuffs, protected from one more heartbreak her fragile mind couldn't process. And I stood in that kitchen, flour on my hands, truth on my phone, and justice finally being served, thinking about how sometimes the people who are supposed to protect us become the ones we need protection from. 3 months ago, life was manageable chaos. Every morning after my 12-hour night shift at the hospital, I'd drive straight to Grandma Dee's house, still wearing my scrubs, running on coffee and determination. I'd help her shower, make her breakfast, organize her. Medications and the weekly pill organizer with each day clearly labeled, and ensure she took everything exactly as prescribed. By 8 a.m., my daughter Zinnia would arrive after I picked her up from my neighbor's house, and she'd spend the morning reading to her great-grandmother while attending virtual school. This routine worked. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. Grandma Dee still lived in the house she'd shared with Grandpa for 40 years, surrounded by her memories and her garden. The dementia hadn't stolen everything yet. She still recognized us most days, still laughed at Zinnia's jokes, still insisted on making her special Sunday gravy, even if she sometimes forgot to add the tomatoes. My mother, Cordelia, lived 40 minutes away in a nice apartment downtown, the one she'd gotten after separating from my father 2 years ago. She visited maybe once a month, usually on Sundays, arriving with store-bought cookies and complaints. "Delphine, her hair looks terrible. When's the last time you took her to the salon?" Or, "This house smells musty. Are you even cleaning properly?" She'd stay for 2 hours maximum before declaring she had somewhere important to be. Then the divorce finalized. Dad had hidden massive gambling debts, second mortgages she never knew about, credit cards in both their names maxed out at casinos. The house was foreclosed. Her car was repossessed. At 58 years old, my mother lost everything except 2 suitcases of clothes and a box of jewelry that turned out to be mostly fake. The lawyers took what little remained from the asset sales. "It's just temporary," she promised when she showed up at Grandma's door on a rainy Thursday evening. "Maybe a month or 2 while I get back on my feet. I'll help with Mom. It'll be good for her to have me around." I should have trusted my instincts when I saw her eyeing Grandma's china cabinet, mentally calculating values, but she was my mother, and Grandma seemed happy to have her daughter home. "Cordelia's staying with me now," she'd tell everyone at the senior center with pride, "just like when she was a little girl." The first week was actually pleasant. Mom cooked dinners, watched game shows with Grandma, even helped with light housework. She seemed genuinely interested in Grandma's care routine, asking detailed questions about each medication. "I want to understand everything in case you need backup," she said, and I felt grateful for the support. By week 2, things started changing. I'd arrived to find Grandma confused and agitated. "Someone took my pills," she'd say, pointing at her weekly organizer where Tuesday's compartment was mysteriously empty despite it being Saturday. Mom would shrug. "She's been doing that all morning. The dementia is getting worse." But I knew my grandmother's patterns. Her confusion followed predictable cycles, worse in the evenings, better in the mornings. This was different. This was chemically induced confusion, the kind I recognized from the hospital when patients accidentally doubled their medications or missed doses entirely. I started keeping duplicate logs, one at home, one in my car, one photographed and saved to the cloud. Every pill counted, every dose documented. The discrepancies were undeniable. Grandma's Percocet, prescribed for chronic hip pain from a fall last year, disappeared at impossible rates. 30 pills became 15, became 5 within days of refilling. "Mom, we need to talk," I said one morning, finding another empty bottle hidden in the trash. "Grandma's pain medication is disappearing." Cordelia's reaction was immediate and theatrical. "Are you accusing me of stealing? Your own mother? I'm in recovery from back surgery. I have my own prescription." "Then show me the bottle," I challenged. "It's at the pharmacy. I don't keep them here because I don't want to confuse them with Mom's medications." I'd already called her pharmacy. They hadn't filled anything for Cordelia Morrison in 6 months. Her last prescription was for antibiotics. The small things disappeared, too. The emergency cash I kept in Grandma's purse for groceries. The silver bracelet Grandpa gave her for their 50th anniversary. The collection of old coins Grandma saved in a mason jar. Always items small enough that Grandma's dementia could explain their absence. "Delphine, I can't find my father's watch," Grandma said one morning, looking through her jewelry box with trembling hands. "I wanted to show Zinnia. He carried it through the war." That watch was worth maybe $3,000 to a collector, but to Grandma, it was priceless. I found the pawn shop receipt in Mom's room while she was showering. She'd gotten $300 for it. The woman who taught me never to lie, who grounded me for taking an extra cookie without asking, who preached about family loyalty every Sunday, was systematically robbing her own mother. And worse, she was letting me take the blame for Grandma's increasing confusion and missing belongings. 2 weeks before the police arrived, I made the decision that would save me. I installed security cameras throughout Grandma's house. Nothing fancy, just a basic system from the electronics store with night vision and motion detection. I mounted them in the kitchen, living room, hallway, and one position to see Grandma's bedroom door. I told Mom they were for Grandma's safety, to monitor if she wandered at night or fell. "Fine, but keep them out of my room," Cordelia snapped, her jaw tight. "I have privacy rights. I don't want you watching me sleep." "I'm not interested in watching you do anything, Mom. These are for Grandma's safety." She crossed her arms, studying the small cameras with narrowed eyes. "Can you watch these from your phone? From your house?" "Yes, they send alerts if there's movement at night. That way I know if Grandma needs help." What I didn't tell her was that they also recorded everything to the cloud, creating Permanent time-stamped evidence of every single movement in those common areas. The first night, nothing happened. The second night, nothing. On the third night, at 2:47 a.m., my phone buzzed with a motion alert. I opened the app and watched in real time as my mother crept down the hallway in her nightgown, slipped into Grandma's room, and went straight to the medication drawer. She knew exactly where to look, pulling out the Percocet bottle and shaking pills into her palm. She counted them carefully, taking exactly half, leaving just enough that a confused elderly woman might not notice. By the end of the first week, I had 17 different clips. Mom stealing pills at various hours. Mom taking cash from Grandma's purse. Mom removing silver candlesticks from the dining room cabinet and stuffing them in a tote bag. Mom pouring Grandma's expensive diabetic testing strips into a plastic baggie, leaving only a few in the original container. The most heartbreaking footage came on day 9. Grandma was sitting at the kitchen table searching frantically through her purse. "Where's my grocery money? I had $40. I need to buy milk and bread." Mom sat across from her, calm as could be. "You spent it yesterday, remember?" "We went to the store." "We did?" "I don't remember going to the store." "That's the dementia, Mom. You're forgetting more things. Maybe it's time to let Delphine handle all your money." I watched my grandmother's face crumble on that recording, watched her doubt herself, her own mind, her own memories. She was right to trust herself. They hadn't gone to any store. That $40 was in Mom's wallet, along with the $60 she'd stolen 2 days before. The confrontation came on a Sunday morning. I arrived earlier than usual and found Mom in the kitchen, crushing pills with the back of a spoon and stirring them into her coffee. She jumped when she saw me, trying to block my view with her body. "Morning, Mom." "Those your pills?" "Of course they are. My back is killing me." I pulled out my phone and showed her the footage from 3 a.m., her hand reaching into Grandma's medication drawer. Her face went from defensive to cornered in seconds. "You were spying on me, your own mother? You're stealing from yours." Grandma needs those medications for real pain. Her hip hurts every single day. She doesn't even remember taking them. She takes one pill and forgets and wants another an hour later. What difference does it make if I take them instead? The callousness of it took my breath away. The difference is, she's in actual pain, Mom. When you steal her pills, she suffers. I've watched her crying in her chair, unable to understand why her medication isn't working. Don't be so dramatic. She cries about everything these days. Yesterday, she cried because she couldn't remember Dad's name. Grandpa's been dead for 3 years. That's grief, not manipulation. Cordelia's mask finally slipped completely. Do you know what it's like? Starting over at 58 with nothing? Your father left me with debt and humiliation. 30 years of marriage and I get nothing but bills. Mom has more than she needs. This house alone is worth $400,000. Her Social Security and pension are more than I'll ever see. Why should she have everything while I have nothing? Because it's hers, Mom. Not yours, not mine, hers. I'm her daughter. I deserve something for all the years I took care of her. What years? You visited once a month. I'm here every single day. Her eyes turned cold and calculating. If you show anyone that footage, I'll make sure you never see Grandma again. I have power of attorney, too, remember? Joint, but still legal. I can ban you from this house. I can move her to a facility where you'll need my permission to visit. Is that what you want? The threat hung between us like a loaded weapon. She was right about the power of attorney. We'd both signed it 2 years ago when Grandma first showed signs of dementia. Either of us could make decisions. Either of us could restrict access. It would come down to who a judge believed, and Mom had always been persuasive. After Mom's threat, I knew I had to prepare for war. That Sunday night, I sat at my kitchen table with 3 devices running simultaneously: my laptop, my phone, and my tablet. I created backup folders on Google Drive, Dropbox, and iCloud, then systematically uploaded every piece of evidence I'd collected. 37 video clips, each one renamed with the date, time, and what it showed. March 15, 2024, 00:47 a.m. medication theft was followed by March 15, 2024, M cash theft, and so on. I called my friend Thea, who worked as a social worker for Adult Protective Services. We'd been friends since nursing school, and she'd seen enough family exploitation cases to know how these situations typically ended. "Delphine, you need more than just videos," she said over the phone. "You need a paper trail that predates any accusation she might make. Start emailing yourself summaries of each incident. Send them to me too, so there's an external record. Document everything with times, dates, and specific details. If this goes to court or APS gets involved, you want to show a pattern of concern, not retaliation." I spent the next 3 hours writing detailed emails. March 15th, 2024, 11:45 p.m., documenting concern about mom's medication counts. Percocet filled on March 1st with 60 pills. Current count shows 12 remaining. Based on prescribed dosage of 2 per day, there should be 32 pills. Discrepancy of 20 pills. Each email was clinical, professional, devoid of emotion. Just facts, numbers, observations. I printed copies of everything, organizing them in a binder with dividers for each type of incident: medication theft, cash theft, property theft, and verbal threats. Monday morning, I went to Grandma's bank with her, using our joint account access to print 6 months of statements. The pattern was obvious. ATM withdrawals increased dramatically after Mom moved in. 500 here, 300 there, always just under the amount that would trigger a fraud alert. Grandma's signature on the withdrawal slips looked shaky, guided, like someone had held her hand while she signed. "Mrs. Nadine hasn't been in here for months," the bank teller mentioned quietly. "We've been wondering who's been making all these withdrawals." "Could you print out the ATM camera footage from these dates?" I asked, showing her the highlighted transactions. "I'll need to get manager approval, but given the circumstances, I think that's possible." Tuesday morning brought Mom's next move. She started her performance early, around 7 a.m., when she knew I'd be arriving soon. I was in the driveway when I heard her through the kitchen window, voice raised in fake distress. "Honey, you've seen how rough your mom is with great-grandma, haven't you?" she was saying to Zinnia, who'd arrived before me to read to Grandma before school. Through the window, I could see my daughter's confused face. "No, Grandma Cordelia, Mom's always gentle with great-grandma Dee Dee." "You're too young to understand what abuse looks like, sweetheart. Sometimes it's subtle, the way she yanks her arm when helping her walk, the way she forces pills down her throat." "That's not true," Zinnia protested. "Mom uses the special cup great-grandma likes and always lets her take pills with apple juice because she hates water." Mom's voice changed, harder now. "If anyone asks, you need to tell them the truth about what you've seen. I'll make sure you're rewarded. That new iPhone you wanted? It could be yours." I walked through the door at that moment, and Mom's face rearranged itself into concern. "Oh, Delphine, I was just checking if Zinnia had noticed anything worrying about Grandma's care." "Zinnia, go read to great-grandma in the living room, please." After my daughter left, Mom smiled coldly. "Building your case? It won't matter. I'm her daughter, her real daughter. Blood matters in court." That evening, I did something I'd never thought necessary before. I consulted a lawyer, paying the $300 consultation fee with money I'd saved for Zinnia's summer camp. Attorney Harrison was a small woman with sharp eyes who took notes on everything I said. "The videos are good, but you need contemporaneous documentation, medical records showing your grandmother's condition, pharmacy records showing the prescription fills and refill patterns, character witnesses who can testify to your care. And most importantly, you need to be prepared for her to strike first. These situations often escalate quickly." "What do you mean, strike first?" "False accusations, elder abuse reports, claims of financial exploitation. If she's stealing and knows you have evidence, she'll try to discredit you before you can expose her. It's textbook deflection." I left the lawyer's office with a list of tasks and a growing dread. That night, I backed up everything again, this time to a USB drive that I gave to Thea for safekeeping. I wrote out a detailed timeline of Mom's residence with Grandma, every incident I could remember, every strange occurrence, every missing item. Wednesday morning, Mom emerged from her room fully dressed at 8 a.m., wearing her navy church dress and full makeup. Her purse was packed, keys in hand. "I need to run some errands," she announced, but something in her voice made my stomach drop. 23 minutes later, she returned with 2 police officers in tow, tears streaming down her face, pointing at me like I was a murderer while I stood there with flour-covered hands, having just been making Grandma's favorite biscuits. "Officers, I have everything backed up on my phone. May I show you?" I kept my voice steady, professional, the same tone I used when presenting cases to doctors at the hospital. Officer Henriquez nodded while his partner, Officer Chen, watched my mother carefully. She was backing toward the door now, her carefully constructed victim persona cracking like thin ice. I opened my phone's gallery, organized meticulously into folders. This first video is from March 15th, 2:47 a.m. The kitchen fell silent except for the quiet sound from my phone. On the screen, crystal clear, despite the night vision's green tint, my mother crept into frame. She moved with practiced stealth, someone who'd done this many times before. She went straight to Grandma's medication drawer, no hesitation, no searching. She knew exactly where everything was. The video showed her taking the Percocet bottle, shaking pills into her palm, counting them carefully, then pocketing at least 15 pills before replacing the bottle exactly where she'd found it. "That's not what it looks like," Mom stammered. I was checking her medications to make sure Delphine hadn't stolen them. At 2:47 in the morning? Officer Chen asked, his skepticism evident. "Let me show you the next one," I said, swiping to another video. March 16th, 3:15 a.m. This time, Mom was in the kitchen, crushing pills with the back of a spoon and mixing them into her coffee. The camera caught her face clearly as she looked around nervously, making sure she was alone. March 18th, 4:22 a.m. The next video showed her taking cash from Grandma's purse, counting out $60 and leaving just enough that Grandma might not notice immediately. "Those videos are edited." Mom's voice pitched higher. "She's tech-savvy. She removed herself from them." I pulled up the metadata screen. "Officers, each video file has embedded data showing it hasn't been altered. Here's the original file information, the exact timestamp from the camera's internal clock, and the file size that matches the recording length. These are admissible in court." Officer Henriquez had pulled out his tablet and was taking notes. "How many of these videos do you have?" 37 separate incidents over the past 2 weeks. But here's the most important one from yesterday morning. I played the video from Monday at 10:15 a.m. The kitchen was empty except for my mother, but she was putting on a full performance. "Delphine, stop!" "You're hurting me," she cried to the empty room. "Put down Grandma's medication." "Those aren't yours." She actually grabbed her own arm, twisting it to leave marks, then messed up her hair as if she'd been in a struggle. "The timestamp shows I wasn't even in the room," I explained. "I was in the bathroom. You can see in this hallway camera footage that I didn't enter the kitchen until 10:23 a.m., after her entire performance." Both officers stared at the screen, then at my mother. Officer Chen spoke first. "Ma'am, did you stage a false assault?" "She's lying. Check her phone for editing apps." Officer Henriquez took my phone, examining it carefully, scrolling through the apps. "I don't see any video editing software. These appear to be raw files directly from the security camera system." Zinnia stepped forward from the doorway, her 12-year-old voice clear and determined. "I have text messages, too." She held out her phone. "Grandma Cordelia texted me yesterday, offering to buy me a new iPhone if I told the police that Mom was rough with great-grandma. I have screenshots." Officer Chen examined Zinnia's phone, his expression darkening as he read. "Mrs. Morrison, these texts show you attempting to bribe a minor to provide false testimony." "I also have medication logs," I added, pulling out the binder I'd prepared. "I'm a registered nurse. Every pill is documented. Every discrepancy matches the timing of these videos. And here are bank statements showing unusual ATM withdrawals that coincide with the dates Mom was caught on camera taking cash." From the living room, we heard Grandma's sweet voice talking to the television. "That's nice, dear. Would you like some cookies? My granddaughter Delphine makes the best cookies. She takes such good care of me." Officer Henriquez turned to his partner. "We need to call this in." He stepped aside, speaking into his radio. I caught fragments. False report. Evidence of theft. Controlled substances. My mother's demeanor shifted from defiant to desperate. "You don't understand. She's trying to steal my inheritance. Mom promised me this house. I'm the oldest daughter. I deserve compensation for my suffering." "Mom," I said quietly, "Grandma's still alive. There's no inheritance to fight over. There's just an elderly woman with dementia who needs her pain medication and her savings for her own care." "I need those pills." The admission burst out of her. Do you know what it's like living with chronic pain? The doctors won't prescribe enough. They treat everyone like addicts. So you became one? I asked. You became the thing they were trying to prevent? Officer Henriquez returned from his radio call. Mrs. Cordelia Morrison, you're under arrest for filing a false police report, theft of controlled substances, and financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. As Officer Chen pulled out handcuffs, Mom turned to me with pure venom in her eyes. You've destroyed our family. Your grandmother will never forgive you for this. Grandma doesn't even know this is happening, I replied, and that's the only mercy in this situation. The metallic click of handcuffs closing echoed in the kitchen that still smelled like freshly baked biscuits. My mother, the woman who taught me to tell the truth, who punished me for taking candy without asking, was being arrested for stealing from her own mother. The silence after the police car pulled away was deafening. I stood in Grandma's driveway watching the vehicle disappear around the corner, my mother's face a pale blur through the back window. Zinnia stood beside me, her small hand finding mine, squeezing tight. Mom, is Grandma Cordelia going to jail? She's going to get help, sweetheart. The kind of help she should have asked for a long time ago. We walked back into the house where Grandma Dee Dee sat peacefully in her recliner, completely unaware that her daughter had just been arrested. She looked up with her warm smile, the one that hadn't changed despite the dementia. Oh, good, you're back. I was worried you'd miss Wheel of Fortune. It's almost on. Adult Protective Services arrived 3 days later for their investigation. The caseworker, a woman named Patricia, with kind eyes and thorough questions, spent 4 hours reviewing my documentation. She examined the medication logs, watched several video clips, and interviewed Grandma gently, careful not to upset her. This is exceptional record keeping, Patricia said, flipping through my binder. In 20 years of doing this job, I've rarely seen such comprehensive documentation. Your grandmother is fortunate to have you. The investigation cleared me completely within a week. Not only was there no evidence of abuse, but Patricia commended the standard of care I provided. If every family caregiver was this diligent, elder abuse would drop by 90%, she told me. Cordelia was charged with multiple counts: theft of controlled substances, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, and filing a false police report. The prosecutor offered her a choice: 18 months in jail or mandatory rehabilitation with 3 years of probation. She chose rehab, finally admitting what I'd suspected for months. The addiction had started after her back surgery 2 years ago. When her doctor cut off the prescriptions, she found other sources, eventually resorting to stealing from her own mother. 3 weeks after the arrest, I brought Zinnia to visit Grandma for our regular Tuesday afternoon reading session. It was one of Grandma's clear days, when the fog lifted and she was present with us completely. Delphine, she said suddenly, looking at me with sharp awareness, where's your mother been? I haven't seen Cordelia in ages. I'd practiced this answer with Grandma's doctor. She's getting medical treatment, Grandma. She's sick and needs special care. Grandma nodded slowly, her weathered hand reaching for mine. Is it the pills? My breath caught. What do you mean? I'm old, sweetheart, not stupid. Even with this foggy brain, I noticed things going missing. Pills, money, my father's watch. I knew someone was taking them. I just hoped I was wrong about who. Why didn't you say anything? Because she's my daughter, and because you were already handling it. I saw those little cameras you put up. Smart girl. You always were the smart one. The tears came then for both of us. This woman, fighting dementia every single day, had been aware enough to know her daughter was stealing from her, but loved her too much to say it out loud. 6 months later, a letter arrived from Cordelia. Not from jail, but from a rehabilitation facility in Phoenix. Her handwriting was shaky but clear. Delphine, I saw all the security footage during my court hearing. Every video, every theft, every lie. I didn't recognize that person, but I know it was me. The pills took everything. My judgment, my morals, my ability to see my mother as anything but a source for my next fix. I'm not ready to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it yet. Maybe I never will. But you saved my life. If you hadn't stopped me, I would have killed myself with those pills. Tell Mom I love her. Tell Zinnia I'm sorry. And thank you for being the daughter Mom deserved, even when I couldn't be. I read the letter to Grandma on one of her foggy days, when she wouldn't remember the pain of it later. She simply smiled and said, "That's nice, dear. Your mother always did write lovely letters." Today, Grandma still lives in her house with a professional caregiver during my work hours. The security cameras remain, but now they truly are just for safety. Every Sunday, Zinnia and I make biscuits using Grandma's mother's recipe, the one passed down through 4 generations. Sometimes Grandma remembers Cordelia, sometimes she doesn't. But she always remembers love. People ask me if I regret calling the police on my mother. The answer is no. Sometimes protecting someone means exposing painful truths. Sometimes saving a family means letting it break first so it can heal properly. Those security cameras didn't just protect me from false accusations or save Grandma from continued theft. They gave my mother the push she needed to confront an addiction that was killing her. The last video clip I kept isn't from the security footage. It's one Zinnia took on her phone last week. Grandma Dee Dee teaching her how to knead biscuit dough, both of them covered in flour, laughing at something silly on the radio. No theft, no lies, no fear. Just a great-grandmother and her great-granddaughter, safe and loved and protected. That's the video worth keeping. That's the evidence that matters. Family isn't about blood or inheritance or who deserves what. It's about showing up, telling the truth, and protecting those who can't protect themselves, even when it breaks your heart. If you've made it this far in my story, you probably have your own family struggles, your own difficult decisions to make. Remember this: documentation isn't paranoia, it's protection. Truth isn't betrayal, it's love. And sometimes the hardest thing and the right thing are the same thing. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Your story matters too, so leave a comment below about a time when you had to make a difficult choice to protect someone you love. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories of families facing impossible situations and finding their way through. Together, we're all just trying to do the right thing, one difficult decision at a time.